Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Um, my name is Taylor Kahn, Marketing Manager for the Accounting Plus campaign and the host for Your Career Plus. Your Career Plus is our monthly webinar series where we aim to bridge the gap between education and real-world experiences by giving Black and Hispanic students access to accounting professionals who look like them and who have already gone through the journey to provide invaluable guidance that helps students navigate their path toward accounting more effectively. We want students to walk away with actionable advice that they can then use the Accounting Plus platform to help begin to implement. Before we dive in, I want to remind the audience to one, that this webinar will be recorded, and two, to utilize the chat box to share any questions that this conversation might inspire. As always, we share a little bit of time towards the end to address those Q&As. Um, Joining us today, the reason why we're all here is our superstar tax accountant, Justin Larry. I had the privilege of meeting him at the NABA conference in June. So happy that he's here. And he's here to talk more about the future of accounting and how technology may or may not be impacting the profession and the industry as a whole. So thank you so much for being here today, Justin. So happy to have you.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invite. I'm happy to be back. So yes, I'm a tax accountant. I work at Plant Moran. They're a regional firm, CPA, certified public accounting firm based out of Detroit, but all over the Midwest. And yeah, again, I'm happy to be back.
Cool. So why don't we just dive in then? So our first question is, our guests know a little bit about you, but can you continue to introduce yourself? I know you mentioned that you work for a CPA firm, and you're based out of Detroit, but can you maybe walk us to how you got there, what inspired your passion for accounting?
Absolutely. So in high school, I had absolutely no clue what accounting was or, you know, the financial realm in general. I had limited knowledge. So when I got to college, I ended up playing basketball, which routed me to college. And I started off as a pre-med major, actually. So I was in the medical field, my first semester or two, and took a couple classes, quickly realized that this is not my true calling. So I remember I had a teammate actually who I looked up to, and he it's a funny joke. He had a narcolepsy. So after every practice, he would fall asleep, guaranteed. And one day I noticed he was up, surprisingly. I'm like, why is this guy actually awake after practice? So I asked him, I was like, hey, like, what's going on? And he was actually managing his own stock portfolio. So I had no clue what, I mean, if you asked me to give a definition of the stock back in 2018, it'd be rather disappointing and you'd probably be surprised I'm a financial professional. But he broke down in what it was, and I had my first interest, and that kind of what got me into the accounting financial realm. And then I took a couple classes, took a lot of interest in it, good at it, and stuck with it. That
That's
brought me to Plant Moran after an internship or two and started full time about a year and a half ago. And I love it. Continue to love it.
that's really cool. Yeah. And I mean, I can only imagine that your friend staying awake despite his medical condition to manage his stocks would spark your interest. Um, I, as a 28-year-old woman, still cannot even begin to think about navigating stocks. So, so maybe I need to give you a call so you can help me figure that out. Um, but that's really cool to see all of the different ways that you were able to find your footing in the industry. So now that you joined accounting, now that you're with your current firm, can you share some of the emerging trends and skills that accountants should be aware of in order to stay relevant and adaptable?
Absolutely. So um, there are a couple of emerging technologies that are relevant today and practically have been relevant for a while. But for example, AI is probably a big headliner in the news. As time goes on, it will become a factor in our daily work lives and an important technology going forward.
Hmm.
But yes, so that continuation of in automation will essentially make our job more efficient as it reduces menial tasks. For example, if you're in the private industry, you may, as a staff accountant, have to deal with daily journal entries, reconciliations. Automation can probably reduce about 80% of those tasks to make your day more efficient, where those professionals are then able to focus on the big picture and focus their energy on tasks that will essentially bring more revenue and value to the firm. So, and that's the private industry. And public, auditors, especially at Plan Moran, already use these emerging technologies. For example, data analytics and AI has been a huge factor, and that data, it allows them to consolidate
Mm-hmm.
and show trends and inconsistencies, so they can provide a more accurate product to clients and provide better services. In tax, similar, we use depreciation reports very often. They can allow us to identify assets and their convention dates and what useful lives they have quickly, rather than spending hours trying to figure out and do that research.
So now that you're to your point earlier, your firm is starting to figure out how best to utilize all of these technological advancements in order to allow you guys, the staff at your firm, to be able to focus more of your energy on things that are going to be profitable and produce more revenue and make you more accessible to your clients, right? So how have you seen the direct impact of implementing technological advancements in your day to day? Like what's changed for you, and how has that freed up your time to explore or better navigate something else?
Absolutely. So on the tax side, and I work with a lot of private wealth clients. So we're going to work on 1040s, which is what most individuals file. And we have a software that essentially grabs all their 1099s, which are, if you have a stock, you'll receive a 1099 for if you sold it or bought it. And it flows all that data into the software. So I'm not spending hours, just doing data entry pretty much, which doesn't add value because I bill out in public accounting, tax professionals bill hourly.
Mm-hmm.
So my time is better spent reviewing what the software put in and adding, inputs where that couldn't flow in, that it frankly doesn't understand. So that reduces, if I was working on a decent size 1040, at least 5 hours of work, that I can spend reviewing and improving my technical knowledge, which provides more value to our clients.
Okay. Now, a lot of the younger generation, right? The people that are watching this webinar and exploring their pathway into accounting, their question is about the impact it's going to have on the existence of future jobs. So once they've completed their degree and they're now ready and prepared to work for an accounting firm, have you found that that AI and other tools like that continue to be an asset, or have you seen any ways that it's hindering job availability?
It makes your job more efficient, allowed to provide more value by working on more complex tasks, and then it reduces those menial data input, data entry, that doesn't require much thought. So from that standpoint, it definitely adds value.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows what the future is going to look like 10 to 20 years from now. But what you have to understand that's important is that it's very difficult to eliminate the human factor and that human relationship aspect in the client, relationship business, because only a part of what I do for the industry in general is creating a product or service. Most of where our true value comes from is being able to build that relationship with clients and I just don't see AI being able to do that, especially
Yeah,
people who didn't grow up with technology. That you're talking about clients trusting their life's earnings and savings and putting it in the hands of a robot. That's a very difficult idea for people to comprehend.
I agree with you 100%, especially when it comes to anything surrounding money. To your point, no one is going to trust someone that they can't pick up the phone and call and speak with directly. I mean, even like for me, something so trivial as like wanting to make a return or something like that, or something I purchased and I have to go on the website and whatever, if that silly little bubble chat box pops up in the corner and starts trying to talk to me, excuse me, human, please. Like I need to talk. I want to talk to a person, please. And I think
That's
it just gives you that kind of peace of mind. And so when I think about how AI might impact accounting, I think you're absolutely right that it's probably going to make your life much easier than it would hinder, because now you have more time, more energy to focus on what really matters, which is clients. It's making sure that you're able to continue to build those connections without having to devote time to those menial tasks that are just time consuming and not thought consuming. So, uh, so yeah, and did I cut you off earlier? I'm so sorry.
I was going to add that our career progression, we have a diagram, and it leads to being a trusted advisor. The technical knowledge is only, let's say, a quarter of our job, right? So at the end of the day, you're supposed to be the person. You're supposed to be the first call that your clients make when they have an issue. And like we just said, I don't see ChatGPT being the first call to.
Right. And so with all of that in mind, what would you say are the top five necessary skills that someone who's interested in exploring accounting should make sure that they have or that they develop?
Communication is one. You're going to be working on a lot of, especially in public accounting, you're going to be working with a lot of different supervisors, partners, and being able to communicate, you know, progress, understandings, how things are going. That's essential. Um, Detail oriented.
Okay.
Like we're working with, we're selling a product that has to be accurate. So being as detailed as possible to make sure that you're as close to right as possible is crucial. Organization, like I said, you're going to be working on a multitude of clients, and they're all not going to be completed at the same time. A lot of times, you won't have all the information you need during your scheduled time, so you have to be detailed and organized, saying like, okay, this is where I left off, and just like any job, just this is where I left off. Because 2-3 months may go by, and you have to pick it back up in an instant. So that's crucial. Having leadership qualities, again, in public accounting, you typically will supervise those under you in a short amount of time. I mean, a year or so as a staff, you'll have interns under you. You get promoted to level 2, which is senior. You'll have staff and interns under you that you're responsible for teaching and delegating work. So you have to be a leader in aspects. Okay, what is that for? I got one more for you.
I think you've alluded to one already, having to be adaptable. Got to be willing to roll with the punches, make those changes.
That's pretty
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in tax, especially because there's always, I mean, think about it. Anytime a new legislator gets in office, there's going to be a provision of some sort or regulation that changes. So that's our careers, our industry is always evolving.
Mhm.
Learning no matter what stage you're at, whether you're 1 year, whether you're a year in or 40 years in, there's always going to be something new that you have to learn. So adaptable is crucial.
Awesome. And something that we talked about offline were the ways in which someone can go into accounting and be the be the accountant that's creating these different technological softwares for accountants. Can we like revisit that and talk about that a little bit more? Because I that was the first time I ever heard about that. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe the students that are watching this might know, but let's assume that they don't. And why don't we talk through that a little bit more?
Absolutely. So at Plant Moran, we have two different branches, I'll say. There's a tech, like a tax technical service department, and then there's also management consulting that deals with IT related tasks. So with the tax aspect, which is more accounting, usually these individuals have worked in accounting of some sort for a couple of years, and they'll divvy off into the tech role. But what they do, they look at our current technological infrastructure and processes and look for ways to improve it, or what other products we should look into, and any concerns that the tax team or accounting that uses or audit that uses tax products, and just how to make their life easier and any questions, any difficulties. So it's I would say it's for sure more tech, but they have that accounting background to be able to really build that practice. And then with the management consulting is essentially that practically is IT. They're looking for ways to help clients evolve their IT infrastructure, so they're selling those products and services.
Okay, awesome. And now, in all of these different skills and directions that you've mentioned, how would you recommend someone develop some of those critical skills and technological skills, not just technological in regards to accounting, but technological as in navigating actual technology that's being implemented? How would you recommend someone were to develop those skills?
So for the technical skills, especially as you go into college, there are majors or minors you can pick up. For example, I know a popular one is data analytics now. And again, that goes back. So I gave that example where the auditors use a large amount of data and consolidate it, where they're able to see the trends and inconsistencies and whatnot. That's all data analytics. So being able to understand that at an early stage is a huge benefactor, especially it'll do well for you in your career. And then accounting requires a couple information systems classes, so that'll help you understand big picture as well. How, and such as cloud computing, ERP systems, enterprise resource planning systems, and it doesn't go into much as much as coding and whatnot, but that'll help you understand again big picture how the technological realm works. But if you want to get more into the details and the nitty gritty, then you're going to probably have to pick up a coding or software engineering minor or concentration. The
Sure.
accounting doesn't necessarily, especially in college, they don't get into the details like that.
Would you say that having a mentor too could be a good way to supplement what you might be missing in your classes or in your experience?
Absolutely. So if you can get a professional, and how to do that, because I know everybody doesn't just know professionals that work in certain industries, right? So when you get on the college campus, I always advise this to all freshmen. The first thing you should do is walk into the Career Center office. So whether you need their services or not the first day, just to introduce yourself, to know faces and whatnot. So that's going to be your primary resource to not only get you opportunities for your career, but mentorship. So as I know Aquinas had a program, I'm sure all colleges do and universities, but Aquinas had a mentorship program where you get to go shadow a professional for a day or two or a week. And just not only does that help you understand what they do, small picture, but it creates a relationship. So whether you need their help or not in that specific industry, they may know somebody like, hey, I know I was interested in accounting a year ago, but now I'm interested in IT. Do you know anybody in the industry? So you're expanding your network without having to actually, you know, go shake 1,000 people's hands to figure out who does what, right? So career services should be your first, one of the first things you do when you step on campus.
That's actually really great advice, and I'm not sure we've heard that yet, but I agree with you 100%. I actually took that route too when I went to college, was going to the career center like during like my first couple of weeks there, because I went into college declared. My major was declared. And then I started taking some of these classes and I'm just like, well, what exactly am I supposed to be taking away from this? How can I best utilize what I thought I wanted to do and how this new information is shaping what I thought I wanted to do. Like I just needed some direction. And when you're 17, 18 years old, you need as much direction as you can possibly get. And I know that like, I mean, I'm sure you can relate to this too. It's like when you're 17, 18, it's like you don't want to hear what anyone has to say because you think you have it all figured out. But you don't, you really don't. And it's okay, yeah, it's okay to like lean on those extra resources. If anything, that puts you ahead of the game. So I appreciate you sharing that advice and I am just co-signing it. So why don't we now transition to audience Q&A? We just got our first question. So what advice do you have for a junior that has taken assessments that points to a career in accounting? Um, sorry, but is still unsure if that should be their path.
Absolutely. So this goes back to the career center um, opportunity I just talked about. So if you are able to shadow a professional for a couple days, just ask them questions and grasp a better understanding of what they do on a daily basis, and to actually see what their work looks like, that would do wonders. And then at that, I know Plant Moran. It might be a little late if you're a junior, but they have a lot of entry level internships. So if you're a freshman, sophomore, you're able to see every single industry that we provide. It's called track, um, especially for diverse students, which is a great opportunity for everybody on this call. So that's probably my first resource I would point you to. And then after that, mentors, if you have any professors, because obviously they're going to teach you what's in the book, but other than that, I mean, most of them have real industry experience. So if you could ask them a couple questions that where your, I'd say, interests align to just grasp a better understanding. So Career Services Center is a great first opportunity.
Awesome. Another question just came in that I read, and I'm like, oh, I can relate to this one. As a first generation student currently in college, what advice do you have for someone who is struggling with fear and worry about the future? Have you ever felt like there was extreme external and internal pressure to succeed or be exceptional, sorry. How did you combat that?
Yeah, that's an interesting one because I mean, all your life, well, at least all of my life, I was told I had to be twice as better as the person in front of me. So, and that's not necessarily true. And I'm not saying don't work hard, but just be consistent. That you're still going to be nervous about, how you're going to do career wise. And it's tough because you don't have a lot of people that you know in your position if you're first generation and we're talking about accounting finance. Because obviously you have to, finish college. So go back to finding peers that are also in that industry if you have any that can help ease pressures. You can see how they're doing, what how they're approaching situations, and then if they have any mentors to help, with that have experience, which again is hard to find. It's hard to find a lot of people that look like me and my,
Yeah. I mean, in both paths that you were that you were going to take pre-med too. There's not a lot of folks who look like us in the medical profession. And so I have to imagine that that was probably shocking for you to share with your family that, oh, never mind, I don't actually want to be a doctor. I want to be an accountant. What was the reaction there? Did you feel any pressure from your family to kind of stay on track on the pre-med route, or were they supportive of your accounting path?
They were supportive just because they know accounts. It's a great career, right? Now, if I said I want to be an art major, maybe they would have gave me some backlash.
No shade to the art majors though.
No shade to- But no, they understood. Like you have to, especially in the medical field, you have to love it because that's a. I mean, you're talking about almost a decade worth of schooling, and not only that is it's probably one of the hardest majors out there, right?
Yeah.
So they understood. Yes, they were disappointed, but it's I found something I'm passionate about. I also showed that I was passionate. You know, I did a lot of my own research. I was always, looking for opportunities where I could get an internship, meet people. You know, I excelled in my coursework, so they knew I was taking it serious. And that also, I know you always have professors that say, you know, don't worry so much about your GPA and you know just do your best to learn, which is true, but it is important when you're looking for opportunities at top firms. So try your best to, succeed, and then it it shows a lot of character that you're willing to push through situations to it's a representation of you. I know some firms have limits like Plan Moran, I think you need a 3.0 or something to get an offer. If you want to go big four, you need like a 3.5. So
Yeah.
it is important, in terms of competitive offers. So,
Yeah, I don't think that all pressure is bad pressure, right? I need to feel that pressure to self-motivate yourself to succeed, to reach that threshold where you feel as though you've made it. And I feel like that might be a good way to combat that, right? To your point, it's like if you're passionate about the path that you are on, you're confident in it, there's no way that someone can deter you or waver you, then all you got to do is you got to buckle down and you just got to get it done. You keep that end goal in mind, where you want to be in your life. That's what's going to be your driver to turn off all of the other noise and just focus on what you got to do.
really,
So I agree with you 100%. And so we have our last question, which I think you have already touched on, but sometimes reinforcement is necessary. I have a degree in finance. How do I know if accounting is for me?
absolutely, it's one of my favorite questions. So, um, one, you, this is how I didn't choose a finance major because I had a mentor that would say all the time, you can get a job in finance with an accounting degree, but it's a little more tricky to get a job in accounting with finance. But that's the nice thing about my firm, especially for public accounting. You can still get into accounting of some sort with just a finance degree. We have a lot of management consulting opportunities where you don't need to be CPA eligible.
Sure. Okay, I think that that was great advice. And we are at time. So, Justin, thank you so much for being here with us today, for taking the time to talk through your journey and your perspective on how technology can really better, at the end of this conversation, better your day to day as an accountant and open up doors for you to spend some more time navigating other parts of the accounting profession. Thank you all for tuning in today. This, as a reminder, this is going to be an ongoing monthly series. So sign up, visit the website, joinaccountingplus.com, create your dashboard, and stay informed about upcoming live events. Now that Justin has shared how bright the future of accounting is, take the next step to find out what your path has in store for you. If you need help planning your path, check out our Pathways to Accounting to explore what classes to pick and what to do outside of class to get ahead. We look forward to seeing you next month, where we'll be sitting down with Jason Treadwell. He's the president and founder of Treadwell Consulting Group. we'll be discussing how to align your passions with your accounting career goals. So we're in for a very exciting conversation. So thank you all again for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.